Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you at the tail end of the season. Jarad,
Mm,
how are you?
we are coming to the end, isn't it? Aren't we? It's yeah, you can see the finish line. No, I'm good. I'm good. Actually, that intro, I don't know, that just sounded more bassy then, mate. Did you put on a bit of a voice there just to sort of make it sound like we've grown and be becoming men or something? Like it was very
I think I'm just
yeah.
sexier these days, Jarad.
Oh, right, is that what it is?
Yeah,
I
I
was
think that's
wondering.
what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, yeah, but I was happy with it. It was a good change. It was a good
Oh,
change.
good, thank you.
No, I've been good. I've been good, mate. Actually, I do. I want to ask. Tell me who. I had this happen to me a while back, and it happened to me this week. Like whose responsibility is it to ring back when you get cut off on the phone, on the mobile phone? So is it the
Mm,
caller or the callee? Because how many times, I don't know about you, but you get cut off and you're like, oh, I'll wait a minute for them to call back, and they don't. So then you call back, and then their phones divert straight to voicemail, and then you play this phone ping pong for 5 minutes, and then you finally get hold of them. I don't know, first world problems, I know, but I've had it happen to me recently, like a while back, recently, and it just continues to happen. There needs to be a blanket rule that I think the caller needs to call back.
I agree with you there. Sometimes I think it's the person who's gone through the tunnel or caused the
Ooh.
disruption.
Yeah,
But
true.
I think there is it's a good idea to have a protocol so people know what they're doing, because you might not know that that person went through a tunnel. I live in a bit of a black spot myself, so
No,
it's
it would
quite a
happen to
conundrum
Lusty.
you brought up. This is kind of
Mm.
the 21st century version of you hang up. No, you hang up.
Very much so, very much so. But thought I'd bring that to the table to you this morning, mate. Maybe you can think about it, and people can let us know what the
Look, I
outcome.
just want everyone to know that at the two gentlemen, we discuss the big questions in life.
Mm. Yep, yep. We always will, mate. We always will. How are you, buddy?
I'm excellent. Thank you, Jarad. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I had another choir session yesterday, and I
Yeah.
just want to proudly report that the choir teacher, we started off with From Little Things, Big Things Grow. And because Archie Roach had died the week before, and he didn't know any Archie Roach songs, but he said, look, this is probably really appropriate. So we did that instead. And I had a guitar, and he said, oh, we just need to do these chords. Can you just do this? And he just demonstrated, and I was, followed along very easily. So that was good. Playing
Awesome.
publicly and being able to follow along with someone who knows what they're doing was a good feeling.
You're in the right direction. Put it that way. I reckon that's a good thing. That song actually just reminded me. My best man sang it, to me to at my wedding for my wedding speech. So he changed the words a little bit. So it sort of resulted in it was more for me, but yeah, sang that song. So that was just reminded me then. Shout out to
Lovely.
my best. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants it, but yeah.
Speaking of shout outs, I just want to welcome a couple of new listeners. So my friend Jamie, he's just started joining us, and he's enjoying our show from the beginning, which is lovely. So thanks, Jamie, for becoming a new listener. And also Serena, who jumped in to listen to our uh, ghost episode, actually.
All right. Yep. Spooky. So, mate, I've got a question for you, and I guess I want to articulate it properly, but I'll just have a crack. How important is it to, as an adult, to be well known in your chosen sort of community? In your case, in your complex where you live, around the shops, around this possible wherever you sort of go. Uh, is it important to be well known, or better to be sort of under the radar?
I don't know if important is the word for me. I think it's just very nice to be included.
Mm.
So it's
Yep.
nice to be recognized in that, that normal community connections. I'm not talking about any level of fame at all. I'm
No.
just talking about, if you go to the same cafe and the guy can't even remember that you come in, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth. It's like, have you
It
been here
is.
before? Like, mate, I come here every day. That would suck. But yeah, you're talking about something really important, which is community connection. Um, So the way I'm hearing the question, I know you didn't ask it like this, but the way I'm hearing it is how important is community connection, and it's huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess, yeah, the question probably didn't come out as well as I wanted to, but I guess what I'm saying, and you touched on it there, it does just feel nice, walking into the shops and someone says hello, and then you walk another 10 meters and someone else says hello, and they're completely different sort of, connections. That happens because of, for me, it happens because of, I'm around taking the kids to school. I see, all of a sudden you're branching out and you've got these people that are other kids' parents that you see and acknowledge, and they know you exist, and, you chuck in the sporting things that they do or the extracurricular activity they do. So it's a lot based around the kids, but, and where I live, it's busy road. I'm getting beeps all the time. Sort of, by the time they're gone, I'm like, I don't know who it is because it's quite a fast road. And I'm not here saying, oh, look how popular I am, but it's just as funny, like you just wave and, hope that they saw you wave. But yeah, it's a nice feeling, I guess, to be a part of that sort of community, or feel a part of a community, but as life goes on, that either becomes very insular. You either stick to where or it depends on where you branch out and things like that. So it could go out into your workplace if you've got a big organization you work for and you're well known around there. I don't know, it's just a nice feeling for me anyway. I know there'd probably be some negatives about it. I'm happy to explore if you think there's any negatives about it.
I'd really love how much you're getting out of that. I think that's really lovely, Jarad. I don't think there's enough of that, where, quite often a lot of our interactions are so fragmented and compartmentalized in life, where it's like, okay, the shop is the place where I get stuff. It's not where I socialize.
Yeah.
But I make an effort when I go to, there's a particular cafe that just opened in Freshwater. It's the closest one to the house that I work. And when they opened, I introduced myself to the owner pretty much the first time I was in there, because I knew my clients would be patronizing that place forever, basically.
Yeah.
So every time I'm there, it's, hey, Kiwi, how are you? And I say the same to him, except I don't use Kiwi because that would be weird. He's got a different name. And it's cool. There's a connection there, and you're going to be looked after as well. So I'm the kind of guy that I don't look at boundaries so much in life, where I think, okay, that's just the guy at the cafe. He's there to serve me a drink. That's it. The way I look at it is, we're all human beings. In the words of the wise Jarad Weston, be human. So I like to get out there and meet people and introduce myself. How you going? Learn about him. Oh, okay, you're from here or whatever. And then from there, you can have a relationship. Whether, even though it's still customer client, it's still a much better relationship than random guy who buys coffee. Yeah,
totally. And I guess that's a point of, like, you need to have your eyes open in all excuse me, in all areas that you do your things. So, yes, you're going shopping, but you never know. You never know who you're going to run into. Yes, you're taking your kids to soccer training. You never know. Whatever it might be, you're at work, but look around, because there's a lot of people that are there, and there's a lot of connection that can be had. And I guess that's how I sort of try and live. Maybe I'm open to it. Maybe that's why I feel like I do. Once I settle into somewhere, I feel like I sort of, know. I'm not super friendly with everybody, but I just know everybody, if that makes sense. Like I keep my options, my eyes open, and I'm always happy to have a chat. So I guess that might, what's the word? Go out into the universe maybe, and then, people come up and have a chat to you, because, there are people out there that don't like it. And you can tell from the time you meet them, they're either uncomfortable with just the general chit chat, or they are there for, I'm there to shop, or I'm there to watch my kid play soccer and go home. Like, there's no extra, and for whatever reason, that's their journey. But I suppose it's being open. If you do want that to occur, if you do want the positive side of things, and you do want a lot of people, knowing you got to be open to it.
Just going back to the people who might not want that level of interaction.
Yeah.
That's not to say they don't want any interaction, and giving them the space that they want at the level they want, that's quite a respectful action. So to give someone, for example, another soccer dad, a smile and a nod and a hi, how are you? How was, your week?
Yeah.
That might be all they want, and you can read that on them, but that's not to say you shouldn't acknowledge them at all. I think it's still nice to include people, and you can chip away. You can create a bit of a foundation, and eventually that person might go, oh yeah, Jared's that guy that's really friendly, and one day they might need to get something off their chest, and you're that guy that they're like, you know what, I could probably talk to him. He's got a really friendly face, and he's always saying hi to me, so I'll lay it on him. And I mean, how many times in life have you been in a casual conversation and all of a sudden someone lays something really heavy on you?
Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah, it happens a lot. That happened, and yeah, you're right. It's a chipping away sort of thing that. You're not doing it to chip away. That's not your reasoning, but you're being nice and you're being polite, and you're acknowledging another human being by saying hello. But that hello can mean a lot more than what it. You might be just saying it off the cuff, but for that person who interaction isn't natural, I guess, or for whatever reason they're feeling, not able, not wanting to socialize, then that hello means a lot more to them, and the respect that you show them to give them the distance. Yeah, you're right.
Look, I always make the effort myself.
Yeah.
At choir, we've got a pretty big, diverse group, and I'm certainly no band leader or anything like that. I'm no senior person there, but you know what? Anyone I see there, anyone that sits next to me, it's like, hi, I'm Kiwi, how are you? And I'll introduce myself, because people aren't good at breaking the ice. This is just how it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. We're social creatures, yet we're so bad at it. When people say, oh, your kids, how are they ever going to learn how to socialize if they've never been to school? Well, you know what? My kids speak so well to adults, and they feel included because they've always felt important, being able to speak to, random people. So us adults who went through the school system, we kind of fall into, it's a bit like jail, you know your place. You don't want to speak out of turn because, you never know what's going to happen. But, I've let go of all those shackles, and I just get out there and just meet people because life is short. And the way I see it is I'm going to go out on my terms.
Yeah, totally. I'll tell you something. Actually, I just thought of it while you were talking. I was getting some dinner for the girls, and the girls were with me. And this older guy, older than me, walked up, and I had and he said something to my eldest, and I thought he did, but then I wasn't sure if it was. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was talking to someone else. So it was only like a quick comment, right? It was as he was walking into the shop. It wasn't angry. It was whatever the comment was. You could tell it was just he said something, and I just left it because I was like, oh, and my eldest didn't say anything. And as he came out of the shop, he was he was looking like he was kind of like looking over at me to try and possibly start a conversation, but I wasn't really engaging because I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And we waited for our food, and then the food came out, and then I started walking past him, and then he goes, oh, I just spoke to your daughter because what it turns out was he's the grandfather of one of my daughter's friends.
Oh, okay.
And he was saying that that his granddaughter was in the car. And I'm like, oh, right. Hey. And like, I felt bad because I didn't engage in a conversation with him, but I didn't know him, but he knew us. So it's a weird thing. But I don't know if that happens to you, that someone comes up to you and starts talking, and you're like, oh, hey mate, you're trying to rack your brain, like, where from where do I know? I mean, this particular thing that happened to me was obviously very, like once the penny dropped, I was like, oh, of course that's you. But but I'm sure like being known can have its like, you can struggle because if you don't know that person back, you kind of feel bad.
Yeah, I think that's happened to all of us. But you know what? You can easily just paper over that, then just move on with the conversation. I think you've got the skills for that, Jared.
Yeah, just there's a lot of mates and chiefs and buddy and
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I
I
ever
think
talk to anybody and I call in your mate and chief, you just need to stop and say, "Hey, I know you from here." I'm like, "Oh, of course," But
well,
it is a funny sort of dynamic.
it's funny. The only time I've ever been called champ in my life is when people don't know my name, and I'm like, well, if this is the only way I can reach championship status,
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I'll just start talking to strangers.
Exactly. Actually, I was out with my son scrapping yesterday, and we saw his broker just randomly. They bump into him all the time, and this is like the third or fourth time I've bumped into him.
Yeah,
And it's just really nice to see a familiar face on the road doing the same thing that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely guy. And I've got
Yeah.
this issue with recognizing people out of context.
Mm.
So if I know you from, let's just say, swimming, and then I
Yes.
see you in your civilian clothes somewhere, I'm like, where's that guy from? Oh,
Yeah.
right, you're from there.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
remember. Yeah. Yeah. I have that issue a little bit too, and I get that from opposition. I used to get that, and I still do from rugby players who used to play against me,
Mhm.
and like they're like, "Oh, you're so and so that plays for there," and I'm like, "Oh, hey," and like I don't remember at all. Like I don't know whether I'm just like on the field. I don't know. I don't pay attention or something, or maybe they didn't stand out, or I don't know. But it was just I get that a lot where people come up and be like, "Oh, I play for this club," and I'm like, they're like, "I played against you heaps of times." Oh, cool. Fair enough. Good. That's good. And then I'm like, oh, and I'm racking. Even then, I rack my brains. I'm like, oh, what position was it? And then I take a gamble, and then I usually get that wrong. And I'm like, oh, because in the context, like then if they said, oh, I'm the second rower, I'm like, oh yeah, you're that guy. Like I recognize that.
Yeah.
I just don't recognize faces when I'm
Yeah.
playing against. So yeah, it's just it's just a funny thing.
Well, Jared, that's probably because you're always putting in these man of the match performances. It's pretty easy to remember you.
It's probably like that slow guy that can't keep up the play anymore. Why is he still playing? He's like 40, But yeah, no, it's cool. And I mean, you're right. Out of context really does make you struggle when you see like even like guys that are in the same club. Like I've run into guys when I'm at work or just walking around the area and they're in a suit or, they're in their work clothes and you're like, oh, wow. I usually see you either muddy or, in headgear or, in the jersey. It's just a weird sort of, it just takes a second and knocks you back a little bit.
But, good on those people for introducing themselves and going out there and saying that, hey, I played against you. I think, again, we're social creatures, but we're not great at it. So good on these people for, reaching out.
Yeah, no, totally. And it usually leads to a pretty awesome conversation. Like, I mean, when it comes to rugby, there's sort of like I reckon you could travel around the world and you speak different languages, but there's always the rugby language. So it's got a real sort of, I can't think of the word, but the tribal sort of feeling about it. Once if you play, you've got that connection. You can always walk into a pub and have a beer with a rugby player.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a way to get a job as well. If you travel overseas and you're looking for work, go join a rugby club. You advised your brother, a way to make friends moving to a small town, go join the rugby club.
No, yeah, it's definitely got a thing to it. And, even guys that have played like 10 games for the club, which is, minute, half a season, you still like have that connection because they pulled on the same jersey and it's, they played the game. So yeah, it's a pretty cool sort of feel. We've kind of branched off into a different thing, but
something you've highlighted for me is the importance of community leaders, because sure, we're social creatures, but to be able to actually get out there and facilitate all of this, like with a rugby club, you've got that infrastructure set up. At some point in time, somebody started up a club. You've got a chairman there who keeps the club running. You've got coaches, managers, all sorts of things that make the club a thing, make it keep it alive. And then you've got players that come and join that club. In an ad hoc situation, there's no chairman. Okay, there's no chairman of the supermarket social club. So, the onus is really on a person to make that connection. And, for example, at the gym, people are there to work out, but people make friends all over the place. And, you go to a gym and you meet somebody and somebody's got to, say hello first, don't they? And I've been in that situation where, you see a person and you kind of nod at each other, it's like, oh yeah, she's here all the time or he's here all the time. I guess we've got to acknowledge each other's existence at this point, otherwise it's just uncomfortable. Otherwise you're pretending the person doesn't exist almost, because you don't want to get uncomfortable and get into a conversation while you're pumping out your 1 rep max. And I've met quite a few people at the gym where I, because of that situation, I was like, well, someone's got to break the ice. So I've gone, hi, I'm, whoever. Sometimes I'm Kiwi, sometimes I'm my real name. And once, a person did it to me, it was almost like she conceded that, oh, look, we see each other all the time. I'd better say something, otherwise it's going to get weird. And she's like, hi, I'm, and she introduced herself. So, and one of them, she's lovely. She's actually listened to our show in the past. And, whenever I bump into her at the supermarket, it becomes a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And it's really lovely. So it's just nice to have these random people around the world or, around your local community that you can bump into. And sure, you don't call them a friend because, you're not constantly meeting up with them or, having Zoom meetings with them, but at least, they exist. And when you see each other, it is like a friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So yeah, someone's got to take that, I suppose, social leadership position in a friendship sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, there is that sort of, not undertone, but there is that sort of tone of like, well, I remember back when we're sort of if you were trying to find a place to go out, there's always the 1 or 2 people be like, oh, let's go here. And they're kind of the leaders. Yep. I know, like, I organize my basketball team. So I do the manager, like you said, there's no president or chairman or anything, but essentially I do all the stuff if I don't put that team in, that team doesn't play. So there's, I think I've, mentioned this early on, but there's a bunch of 8 or 9 guys that go and play basketball, and that's kind of on me. Like, I don't mind. I'm not having a crack and I actually enjoy it, but it's just, if I don't do that, then someone else has to pick up that slack and do that. And it would be a shock to their system because they just turn up and play basketball and it's organized. But for me, running that, like putting in those teams, I've always done it. I've always naturally just fallen to it. Like, I think 20 years I've been organizing a basketball team. So it's second nature to me. That's part of playing basketball now for me is making sure they got the jerseys, making sure people have paid their court fees, people are registered, all that sort of stuff. That's part of basketball for me. Whereas when you join a team, you just play. That's it. So it's a different sort of feeling. But look, I really enjoyed playing that role and being that leader in that part. Even though I'm probably the worst basketball player on the team, but it doesn't exist without me. So that's why I'm hanging on to it.
Exactly. Create the job for yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Try to find me now, boys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm taking my ball and going home. It's 5. It's cool. But I think people just, I suppose if you have a passion for something, or if you have a natural sort of, like I've mentioned before, I got asked to help out with the coaching from one of my girls at soccer, and I'm like, well, I don't know soccer, but I'm happy to sort of take the leadership in a certain, yes, there's another person helping, part of that, or there's another 2-3 people part of that sort of circle that's managing and coaching and all that. But it's, I guess that's now part of soccer for me, like, I'm happy to run a training session or, speak to them at halftime and do what things you do as a coach or a manager.
Yeah, good on you, Jarad. And we need people like this in society that are willing to take on all those extra jobs.
Yeah.
Life's getting busier, of course. And here you are performing all these administrative duties, which, isn't the glory stuff. You'd rather be landing those 3-pointers. But hey, someone's got to do the dirty work, right?
Someone's got to do the 1-finger typing, all the admin stuff that you have to do, Takes me like half an hour to write a sentence, with these fat fingers.
Yeah. And you know what? You never know where things are going to lead, do you? You start with these little things. You build a little basketball team, you build a little conversation at the gym, and it does blossom into a lot more. And just to know someone's there. I actually into somebody at choir yesterday that I'd met the week before. Like, seriously, we'd only spoken like 1 week prior, and we already had that, kind of friendship chemistry, and where you can joke around straight away.
You pick that, yeah.
And asking her, "How are you?" and she's like, she paused for a moment and said, "Isn't it funny how we always say good automatically?"
Yeah, I know,
and
right?
and jokingly, I was like, "Do you need to get something off your chest? Is there something you'd like to tell me?" And she smiled, but then she went into something and told me about an issue she had. So even though I was only mucking around and she was mucking around, it still opened a door.
Open the door.
So every day we've got an opportunity to connect, and the person might really need it at the time.
Totally. I totally agree. And it's sometimes it's a joke that gets it there, like a little sort of back and forth that gets you to that place where you need to be to have a chat.
Yep. And now she knows that, she probably could talk to me about something if she needed to.
Yeah.
And next time I see her, I'll say, "Hey, how are you going with that?" And we can have a chat.
Good. No, that's all I say.
Good, yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Well, good. It is a natural thing, isn't it? That we just always say, "How are you?" Good.
Yeah. And look, there's certain times where you can't really lay it on somebody, especially if you're at the checkout. But there are other times where you can open up a little bit, and it's good for other people to know that, hey, no one's perfect out there. We're all going through our struggles.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So look, to all our listeners, we're probably getting towards the end of time. I actually haven't been keeping track of this, but we're probably at the end of the episode. Just wanted to say to everybody that keep building those connections, keep joining us. We're hoping that you feel connected to our conversations. We love having you with us. We love having a friendship with each other. We're very lucky that we can do this in this modern age. And it's very hard to stay connected with friends. So keep making connections everywhere you go.
As always, you finish with such wise words that I cannot follow it. So I just say, see you, mate.
Thanks, Jarad.
Bye.